Lost the other ones, cut off where I can see them. We are going to be painting jig heads, powder coating jig heads with ProTech powder paint. We're going to go through the tools I got, my setup, what I use, what I think you need, what I don't think you need, and some other things. I've got like almost 100 jig heads I need to get painted up so I can get these jigs tied up and get them on the road. We're going to be doing some hatchet head jigs. And we're going to be doing New Age minnows. Don't know if I'll get around to putting eyes in them tonight or not. We might give it a shot. And I think that was hatchet heads, the New Age minnows, and some round ball jig heads. And I think we're going to start out with, let's see, I got yellow, blue, pink, and black, chartreuse and black, orange, candy blue, candy purple. Let's do some blaze orange ones. And we are going to be using the fluid bed tonight. We're going to start out with orange. Even though you're using the fluid bed, you've got them in these containers that go down inside the fluid bed. Still make sure you shake that up. Give it a good shake. You want that as liquefied as you can get it before you get it down inside this fluid bed. So we're going to shake it up real good. And we're going to open it up. There's a couple tools I keep when I'm doing this down here. Small toothpick that'll help keep it stirred up when you first put it down inside that fluid bed. And be ready because it's going to go all over the place. You're going to have it everywhere. You're going to stick that down inside your fluid bed and you're slowly going to turn this valve on. The valve there on the side. And it don't take a whole lot of air to get it flowing. I keep my cups full about maybe a little less than half. And you can see I'm already starting to get a volcano out of it. You end up with this, what you're looking for, being a powder, you're almost looking for a water consistency down in the bottom. And to help with that volcano, we can stir it up a little bit and get that air to where it's moving a little bit freer. What it does is it gets packed down there at the bottom some. So that's what you're doing. You're gonna unpack it and get it loose. It's hard to get a good camera angle to show you exactly what I'm talking about when I get it fluid-like. I don't know how good you can see that. You can see it bubbling some, but it almost has the consistency of water down in the bottom of it. And you're going to have a little bit of that volcano and it wanting to pop out, kind of overflow out a little bit. Just mess with your air pressure a little bit until you get it to where you want it at. We are going to, sometimes it depends on the size of the jig head on which method I'm going to use to heat them. Really small ones, 30 seconds, 64s, I like the heat gun. You start getting up in heavier ones, I like propane tank a little bit better. Each one of them has kind of got its own place on what I'm going to do with them. If I'm going to two-tone them, if I'm going to paint them different colors, I'm probably going to use the heat gun. Let's get this where you can see a little bit better. Good pair of hemostats. I've got a pair that are kind of bent on the ends. Kind of helps you get that angle a little bit easier when you go to dip it down inside there. But I take mine and I clip them right over the eye. That way I don't have to worry about having to clean that outlet out. Usually it's pretty clean. Once I've painted 5 or 6 jig heads with it, I usually have to clean my hemostats off. And that'll help keep that eye clean. But that is how we're going to do it. I'm going to turn it upside down like that. I'm going to heat it up for a few seconds. I'm gonna dip it right down in powder paint, knock it off, and I'm gonna hang it up here to harden up and dry. If you see, it's kind of got this, still kind of got that little bit of a powder look to it. You can put it in the oven, cure it, it'll get shiny. You can put it right back over top your heat gun. That'll help get you back to that shiny look. Very easy process. Is anybody watching doing this or had any questions about it? Anything you want help? Anything you want me to help you answer, figure out? It's actually a her in the tank, and I've never really given her a name, but she has been on the hunt all day. She has been herding those minnows. Let's see if you can get a good look at her there. But she keeps those minnows herded down into that corner. And for whatever reason today, she has absolutely been on the hunt, thinning them things out. So when I'm doing eyes, let me turn that off so it's a little bit quieter. Figure out what I did with my turner of eyes. These are the eyes I'm using. Stick-on eyes. They got an adhesive back. Once you get your jig heads in the oven and you get them cured, I usually put my eyes on after that. I usually put my eyes on after I tie my jigs. I see a lot of people use it and they use super glue and they'll put a little drop of super glue inside that socket right there and leave it like that. I don't quite trust it all the way. So what I'll do is I'll use that adhesive back on that eye. I will stick that eye to that socket, and then I'll take a small paintbrush and dip it in UV resin, and I'll go around the edges of that eye, then I'll hit it with my UV light. So far, I haven't had an eye fall off. Knock on wood. But as of right now, I haven't had one not fall off. And until I do, that's probably going to be the process I stick with. The super glue, what I don't like using about the super glue is, for some reason, it seems like once I get to fooling with it and get to pressing it down on there, the eyes usually get cloudy looking. And I hate that. I cannot stand when those eyes come out cloudy and you lose that, you kind of lose that 3D effect. You lose that shininess to it. And if you're going to, go to the trouble of putting these eyes on, you're going to want to keep them shiny. You're going to want to keep them clean. If not, you might as well just paint an eye on it. But I really like the jig heads with the eyes on them. I don't like the process completely involved with putting eyes on the jig heads. And I'm still not 100% sure if I even really want to get into doing the jig heads with the eyes. It just very time consuming. The oven, I'm running kind of two platforms here at the same time. I'm doing TikTok and I'm also doing YouTube at the same time. Oven come from Walmart, $19 oven. If you're going to buy the oven to cure your jig heads, the best thing I can recommend is also to get a oven thermometer, stick it in there. ProTech recommends that you cure your jig heads at 350 degrees for 20 minutes on an 1/8 ounce jig head. You can start getting 16, 30 seconds, 64, so I start going to like 7, 8, 10 minutes. Use the oven thermometer and double check what your oven's doing, because these cheap little units at Walmart, will range. When I put it on 350 degrees, I'm actually at like 425. And what'll happen, if I've got one here, I think I got one right inside here that did that. And if you get your paint on a little too thick, but I don't think I had my paint on too thick, I think the paint just got too hot. You end up with this needle point drip at the front of your jig head, which honestly, it don't really look that bad. I think it's kind of cool looking. It's definitely not one I would throw away. And usually if I'm tying jigs, painting jig heads and selling these jigs tied, and they end up with that drip, I'll send them anyway because it changes the profile of that bait. So I don't throw them out. Sometimes I have, depending on how bad that drip is, but usually 350 degrees for 20 minutes in that oven. But like I said, get you an oven thermometer and double check that. For the paint, I use cheap heat gun. I agree. It's kind of a hassle with the eyes. They look good. They come out really neat looking, but there's a lot of work involved once you start getting the paint on the eyes. My heat gun speaks for itself. Ace Hardware, $29.99. The paint is all ProTech powder paint. They've just all been transferred into different containers because I get them from a guy who buys it in bulk in 5-gallon buckets, and then I get them off him for $3 a container. I get these from Jason Brummel, Jason's Tackle. Then I don't think it's in the lead. Well, it could be in the lead melting. If that if that oven's getting up to 450 degrees, and I can't remember exactly offhand what the melting point the lead is, but the only thing is some will do it and some won't. So it's either got something to do with, I think it might have more to do with the paint being on a little bit too thick. I don't really think it's the lead melting, but the temperature of the oven, if you're not careful, this one, if you set it at, I got it at 225 degrees, you can read them. If I set this one at 225 degrees on the dial with the oven thermometer, I'm hitting 340, something like that. Chartreuse is a pain in the butt to get it not to drip. The best thing to do with your chartreuse paint is to get a thing of clear powder paint and cut it. Make it a little bit thinner so it's not quite so it don't go on quite so thick. Definitely with the chartreuse, you're going to want to use the fluid bed. Definitely with the red, you're going to want to use the fluid bed. Orange and white. That to me those are the hardest ones to paint. The chartreuse, especially the red. Actually, the red is probably the worst. It's a big toss up between the chartreuse and the red, but the red is definitely hard to put on sometimes. And that's one of my favorite colors that I paint with. I usually end up mixing them, red and chartreuse together. Sometimes I don't even put them in the oven. If they're for me and I'm using them, they don't go in the oven. I just put those right in my box. I'm going to vertical jig everything I fish with. Read it. I never tried using jig clamps. Usually I can get my powder up to where it's kind of liquefied. Keep it right there in the air spot where you can see the bubbles coming up. And most of the time I can catch it. The white, I don't think I have in a fluid bed container. I think I've got it in a regular 3-ounce bottle container. But if I'm using them, not very rarely do I ever put them in the oven. I usually paint them, tie them up, put them in my box. I'm gonna be vertical jig fishing all those jig heads. I'm not really worried about them bumping rocks or anything like that. She's on the hunt again, I can see it. She gets them all herded up back in that corner, then she splits them. I don't know what her deal's been today. She's been on them. Trying to get it where she's in there. She will. She'll move them back over. But anyway, that's kind of some of my process. Powder paint my jig heads. The orange I had quite a bit of problems with when I first started with it. But since I started using the fluid bed, I don't have any problem at all with the orange anymore. Usually on the heat gun, I'd go 5-6 seconds. Swish it around in there a couple times. I still got a little bit of, kind of looks like powder on it. Heat it back up till I get it all nice and shiny. I'm gonna give it one more in there.
Someone wants to know how long you powder.
How what?
How long you powder?
That crappie, she's been in that tank since I think just February. I had her and a big white crappie in there at the same time. The white crappie I couldn't keep alive. I kept her alive. It took me 3 or 4 days to nurse her back to health where she would live in there. But she's definitely so much hardier than the white crappie. 5 pounds of paint in a fluid bed. That's a lot. That's a big fluid bed. But they come out pretty good. The orange does, as long as I got it in the fluid bed. Where's everybody from tonight? Everybody let me know where you're from. Send me a message. Let me know where you're at, what crop you're doing in your area. I think we're going to two-tone some of these too. We're going to do some black on them. Right here, the way you see mine, that's how I keep all mine stored. The ones that go in the fluid bed that have the bottoms in them, I stack them up on top of each other. I keep these on top of those, and so far I've had no problem with any moisture getting in them. That ain't saying later on this summer when it starts getting humid that I won't, but as of right now, I haven't had any problem with that. Pueblo, Colorado, Southern Oklahoma. Where else we have people from? Read them off.
Louisiana.
Louisiana.
East of Dallas.
East of Dallas.
Ravenswood, West Virginia.
West Virginia.
West Monroe, Louisiana.
West Monroe, Louisiana. That's where Duck Dynasty guys are from.
Ooh. Missouri and Mississippi.
You talked to Jason Brummel about you the other day. He said you were a horrible dude. Oh, just joking. You're a good guy. Georgia, Buffalo, New York. Buffalo, New York. Is there crappie in Buffalo, New York? Pink and white. Yeah, pink and white's one of those colors that's a classic one. It's hard to beat. Hard to beat. We have got 28 people on. We got 10 likes. Everybody hit that like button for me. Let me know you're there. Kentucky Crazy. Is that Kentucky Crazy Catfish Angler or Crappie Angler? What did I say?
Kentucky Crazy Crappie Cat Angler.
I grew up in Kentucky. Grew up in Louisville. Grew up in Brandenburg.
Illinois.
Caught a lot of crappie in Kentucky. And that one we two-toned. I'm gonna do one more like that, and I think we're gonna get into some pinks, some chartreuse, and stuff like that. Got it up to 24 likes and 29 people. That's a little better. One bad thing about doing live feed, I get to pay attention to comments and who's on and what's going on. I end up melting jig heads. Orange and black hatchet head.
What is your go-to color in super clear water?
My go-to color in super clear water would have to be let me see what I got. If I haven't given them away yet. I get pretty bad about that. I get my box, start getting full, and then I end up giving away half my jigs. I don't even have one. Usually I end up with like a blue, white, colors like that in super clear water. I like silvers, chartreuse, colors like that. Colors, you know, probably almost everybody else would use. I tied these up the other day, and guy was having some pretty good luck with them last night on that color, not the hatchet head jig, but one that was kind of like that. But he was having good luck in that, and that water was fairly clear. Another one, that's one I use a lot in clear water. I like that. We were down at Palm de Terre last week or the week before, and caught a lot of crappie. Caught every single one of them off that jig. Silvers, blues, whites, blue and white. My favorite clear water colors, but honestly, I don't like fishing clear water. If the water's too clear, I won't fish it. I'll find some stained water. I'll find something that's a little bit dirtier. I like water that's got color to it, a little bit of green color to it, a little kind of dark, you know, like when it's almost clearing up after we've had a lot of hard rain. There's a few lakes here pretty close. Stockton Lake. I don't like Stockton Lake at all because it gets so clear. Palmies usually always got that fertile look to it. I like that kind of water a lot more. Carlisle Lake, it's in Illinois, isn't it? Catfish Weekly, how's it going, Lyle? But yeah, I like water that's a little dingier. It always seems to me like you start getting into really, really clear water, them fish move really deep. A little harder to feel them bite sometimes. I know most people avoid muddy lake, but I'd rather have one that's got a little bit of mud look to it than clear water. Yeah, I heard that. I heard the crappie might slow down on Palmy quite a bit. We was there a couple weeks ago when they were biting pretty good. We had to weed through a lot of small mills on the bank before we caught anything that was really worth bringing home. Yeah, it's pretty awful right here now too. It's like I think the high today was 52. Thunderstorm for the last 2 days. I keep seeing pictures of crappie on Facebook and social media sites. At least that way I still know what they look like. Ain't they all right? Feels like it's been forever since we had the boat out. But anybody that's thinking about getting into painting your own jig heads, I promise you it's not hard. It's easy. And you can make it as cheap or as expensive as you want. You can experiment. There's a lot of different things you can do. Give it a shot. Don't be intimidated by it. It's pretty easy. Not much to it at all. Gets messy sometimes, but you know, you can come up with the jig you want when you want it and how you want it. Yeah, I bake all my heads when I get done with them. As I'm painting them, I'm hanging them on this rack. And then I usually do like a rack full at a time or do an oven full at a time, which is usually, I think I usually end up with about 100 jig heads in that oven. That's about what I do. I usually get the rack full. I usually get 2 orders going. I get them painted up. I got another rack over on the other side that I put them in. I'm Michael Rogers, and I bake them all. Fishing with the Chad. We're going to do some pink ones now. I don't think I've done any that were just solid hot pink yet. Another thing you're going to want to have, I have all 2-inch footbeds. Caps, siliconed in bottom. That's kind of like a porous material. It's kind of, I'm not really sure even what that material is called, but it's breathable. I think it's better than a paper bag. I think it's better than a newspaper and a coffee filter. So far, it seems like it lets a lot of air through, but not too much air through, if that makes any sense. I like it, what's in the bottom of these a lot better. I don't make my own. I should, and I know there ain't much to them. Piece of 2-inch PVC, and it's got this little piece here glued down inside the bottom of it. I know they're easy to make. I just don't have time. I just don't really want to set up, go buy a bunch of PVC and cut it. Acetone. Keep acetone on hand. That'll help get that powder paint off your jig, off your pliers, off your hemostats. This bottle I get from I think it comes from Dollar General. It's got a little spout on it, a little thing where you can control how much you put in another container or something. I usually clip that off of it, drop my hemostats in there for 10, 15 minutes to dry them off. I keep a backup pair so that way I got a pair getting cleaned and a pair on the table. These did them off Amazon. And that little bend in the head's pretty helpful. Those are the new age minnow heads I was talking about. And I bet you're right. I bet, if I'm right, I think well, if I can get it back on the screen. There it goes. I think you have that mode, don't you? I think you might have got that mode from Jason Brummel. I know he told me he had gotten rid of it, or he got rid of the spin cast he was using to do that with. But all these have came from someone else. I didn't get these from Jason. I'll always get my round ball heads from Jason. I'll always get my powder coat from Jason. But just these here came from somebody else. He was wanting me to give him a try of them. I traded him 50 hand ties for I'm not even sure how many. I can't remember how many it was. But it was a pretty good deal. Worked out good. I was wanting to try some. He sent me some eyes. But like I said, I'm not. Yeah, it's just a minnow head with the collar cut off of it. That's all it is. A new age minnow. It's like, yeah. And they look good when they're done. They got the eyes on them. I don't know if I put the eyes in one of these yet. Yeah, I have. Got one right here. I got one here I did candy purple a little while ago just to kind of see how it was going to come out with the eyes on them. And you got to admit, that's pretty. Nope, never painted with crinkle paint. I've seen it, it's pretty neat. It's just another process I don't know if I want to do. Actually, I haven't seen the process, I don't know. Don't know how many more different process I want to get into, to tell you the truth. Mark Williams, how's it going? Yeah, there's no doubt. I mean, that is a pretty jig head. There's no doubt it's going to catch fishermen. There's no doubt in my mind it's going to catch crappie. But like I said, it added a whole nother process.
Michael wants to know, can he buy your jigs instead of on Facebook?
Well, I don't. You can. I don't keep an inventory tied up. I've never actually had time to sit down and stock up on an inventory of jigs. So that's why I've never even had a chance to set up a website or anything. So I've been selling them off Facebook, and that's just worked pretty good so far. I would eventually like sometime somehow to get an inventory built up.
Lily wants to know what's your favorite type of jig head.
My favorite type of jig head, right there. Regular round ball, 16th or 8th ounce jig head. That is my favorite. That's my favorite. It always has been my favorite. It's simple, it's easy. And yeah, you can, if you're not careful, you get overwhelmed doing this pretty quick if you're not careful. The old faithful round ball jig head. The new age minnow's got to be runner up though. I'm sure I'll have some of these in my box. There's no doubt about that. I'm trying to think what other kind of tools I use while I'm doing this. All kinds of different little paint brushes to help to brush the extra powder on. There's gotta be a focus spot there somewhere. Right down the room to hang them. What else we got? Any other good questions? Anybody need to learn anything else or want me to answer any other questions? Two more, and then I think I'm kind of caught up for a little bit on painting. Yep, I had glitter in mine. Sometimes I sprinkle the glitter on. Other times I mix it into the powder paint. Sometimes I mix it in clear powder paint and then re-dip it again. Yep, all my jig heads go into this oven right here, 350 degrees for like another 20 minutes. Hyper shift for the heads. I've seen it. I've seen another guy on YouTube using that. The hyper shift. Sift or shift. I thought it was sift when I first heard it. But no, I've never used it. And that is all for that order. All the specialty ones are done. Then I can get back to my regular round ball heads and stuff like that. We picked up a few new paints last couple weeks. I now have disco orange, regular yellow, baby bass green. So there's some new colors, and I'll be adding new colors on as I go, things like that. Well, I got to get with the guys at Plateau Fly Shop. I got to get with him, see what's going to work out a time if we do it while the shop's open, which I kind of think it's a good idea. And then I kind of at the same time don't think it's a good idea, but it might be. So I'll get with him sometime this week and we'll figure out when we're going to do that live feed from the shop, from his shop, and we will see. I will let everybody know as soon as I find out that date and time when we're going to do that. 33 people, 29 likes. It ain't bad. I can live with that. Let's see. I use small brushes when I two-tone my paint, my jig heads. So I'll put the other paint on it. I usually do the light color first as a base, and then sprinkle on the darker color as my accent colors. Which kind of like that, pink and black, chartreuse and black. Can't remember how much I charged. Paint them again. Oh my goodness, eating crappie and taters, that's what we should have been eating today. I still got some in the refrigerator. In the freezer. Yeah, stop bragging, Chad. I'm jealous. We had tacos. And he was having crappie and fried taters, dude.
Dang.
Yeah, that's what I said too. But I will get with Austin this week and we'll figure out what we're going to do at the Plateau Fly Shop. When we're going to do that. Let's see what Big Bertha's over there doing. She got the minnows still kind of herded up. And you know, when we do the live feed at the fly shop, it's also going to be a way to get to know him some. Y'all can ask him questions on time flies. You can ask him questions on how he sets his shop up, how he ties his flies. What else we need to talk about?
Nothing, I guess.
Usually Zach does this, but he didn't want to do a whole live feed by himself because he's camera shy. We got to give him in the camera a little bit more. And like I said, I just kind of want to touch base on that, see if anybody else had questions on painting jig heads. If any more come up, let me know. Keep an eye out. We'll see when we're going to do the live feed of Plateau Fly Shop. That's what I told him too. There ain't no point on being camera shy. Frida, what's up? Well, thank you. Happy Mother's Day to your wife too. I hope she had a good day. See, other people telling you.
Yeah.
You've been on camera before, but he don't like it right on him. He don't like it right in his face. He don't mind being the little dude in the background that's like peeking over my shoulder, stuff like that. But he don't like to make his big camera debut. I don't think. Where's he at? That's about all we ever get of him. We're also running a live feed on TikTok right now at the same time. Fishing with Frito. I seen you had some jigs on YouTube. I didn't watch that video yet, man. Those were nice looking. We're gonna do some chartreuse ones, round ball ones. Did you read that one? Fishing with Frito. You're supposed to be reading the comments. I'm not supposed to read them to you because I can't keep up.
Sorry.
He says you crack him up. He cracks us all up. That's one thing he's got is a good sense of humor. Pretty good sense of humor on him. What was that last comment?
Dude, I got face for radio. If I can do it,
Face for radio. Face for radio. We're gonna swap out our hemostats and do it without knocking everything over. What was I saying? Yeah, you time and make them look good enough. You'll definitely find people that are interested in buying them. Be careful, you'll turn a fun hobby into sometimes another full-time job you can't keep up with. But I enjoy it. I like doing it. I like coming down the garage, tying jigs, painting jig heads. Chartreuse. A flip bed helps, there's no doubt about that. But if I'm only going to paint 2 or 3 of one color, 2 or 3 of another color, 2 or 3 of another color, I usually don't use a flip bed. Usually I just keep it in. There's enough in my big containers that I don't full with the flip bed. But if I'm painting a lot, 20, 30 at a time, if I'm getting another Lyle Stokes order, we run the flip bed. There's no doubt we run the flip bed when we start getting into big orders. Need to make things go a little bit faster. Sometimes he'll use the heat gun, I'll use the propane torch. Catfish and crappie, $5. Thank you, sir. I appreciate that. But if I was doing, a few for myself every year, I don't know if I would use the flip bed. I probably would have bought into it and bought it. I don't know how much I would have used it. But I'm definitely curious about making my own. See that jig head there? I got just a little bit too hot. You can see it kind of blistered on it. Well, yeah, there it is. Came in, no problem. But there are all kinds of videos on YouTube on how to make your own footbed. I just didn't really have the time to go to the hardware store and start putting it together. Working second shift, working Saturdays. I don't sometimes have as much free time as I want. But see, I do want to go into guiding. That is what I want to get into, but I've got to change boats. So within the next year or so, I'm probably going to be selling that Champion. I'm going to be looking for something a little bit bigger. I think I would rather get into the guiding aspect, tying my own jigs. I think I would enjoy that a lot, quite a bit. Tinkered with it, thought about it. I've talked myself out of it, talked myself back into it. But I definitely one day want to switch gears and switch over to crappie guiding. That's you.
Yeah.
What was that comment?
Another thing.
You know, we end up with those big orders. If me and him come down here and we just sit down and we start painting and we don't stop, we could probably, I mean, it goes fast. You can paint a lot of jig heads a lot faster than what you think you can. You know, you got good company, you got music playing in the background. It goes by pretty quick. But there's some paints I'm gonna have to stock back up on, and there's some different colors I want to get. But yeah, that's my ultimate goal, is to get into guiding for crappie and catfish. We're pretty fortunate here where we live at in central Missouri, southwest Missouri, to have some pretty good lakes. What got me into tying jigs, and this is crazy, I don't know if you've ever seen those small little Popeye jigs. That's what I used to call them. It was a little bitty 1/64 ounce jig with and it had one black eye painted on it. That's what we always used to call them. We used to call them the Popeye jig heads. I could only ever find them in like white with the black eye, green with the red eye, and like one feather, and it was tied off at the neck. I couldn't find those. I went to Bass Pro, and they were like ridiculously priced at Bass Pro, so I ordered a fly tying kit off Amazon and started tying my own. And it was a year after I got the fly tying kit that I actually ever got into tying some of those jigs. I'm going to show you what I'm talking about. These little bitty jigs right here. Those are what I wanted when I started tying crappie jigs, were these. And those I just tied a few months ago.
Ronnie wants to know, what is a good place to get jig heads to tie and paint?
Hands down, the best place to get jig heads is from Jason Brummel. Jason Brummel's Tackle. You can find him on Facebook. You can find him on he does business on eBay. And when I kind of went into setting up my channel, I did not think I was going to go anywhere near what my channel has gone to. When I first started tying up jig heads and I started a YouTube channel, I was putting videos on YouTube to keep track of the colors of jigs I was tying and what they were. I had no idea I was going to end up with 6,000 subscribers and be monetized and start making any kind of money off of it. So that is the only reason. And actually, Zach brought it up today why I wasn't using a different channel for live feeds. And what else was we gonna do?
I don't know.
You asked me about it today. But no, I don't know. I just haven't really put it together completely the way I wanted to. Honestly, I just got this Apple tablet and I've been using it to record and video all my videos. Now I'm already at the point where I don't really like this because I don't think I get a good quality video off of them. And I'm thinking I'm gonna have to end up trying to switch into some other kind of camera where I can get a really good close up focus of what I'm doing. Actually, I was working on this over here today with this box and being able to set the camera up to where I've been setting up something to where I'll be able to get it in focus a lot better, get up a lot closer videos, so that way everything's really, really up close where you can see exactly every single wrap I'm making, how I make them, how I do the whip finish. And I want to be able to tie jigs and have it projected to you from the way that I'm looking at it, not from the other side. If you're watching me tie jigs and you're looking at it from the side that I usually got the camera on, that's probably going backwards from what I normally do. So if I'm wanting to get the camera right here in front of me and be able to tie jigs right there, but I want that jig so close that you'll be able to count the wraps that I put in it. I want it so close where I'll be able to see the flaws in it. When I go back and look at it myself, I can see a loose wrap or something like that. Jason Brummel's Brummel, I think. Jason Brummel's tackle. You should be able to type in Jason's tackle on Facebook, and you should be able to find him that way. What else we got for tonight? Anybody else got something they want to bring up, talk about? I've got like, I think I was up to like 25, 30 people. Yeah, sometimes I get carried away on my regular videos. Now, I understand not everybody wants to go and watch a 12 or 13 minute video, but sometimes me explaining it, how I get into it, how I do it, ends up being roughly like 12 minutes. The live feed, I hope I can get a lot more people going in that, and maybe we can even try figuring out some way to invite people on. Maybe like Lyle did have that Saturday night jig time where I've got like 4 or 5 people all the time at the same time, and I can give tips, they can give tips, things like that. Yeah, 5 minutes is 5 minutes. If I go back and I start checking all my analytics, 5 minutes to 7 minutes is about what most people will watch before they move on to something else. There's a lot of little things I like trying to add to it, and I end up pushing them. I think I got a couple of them that are like 20 minutes long, and I know most people ain't going to watch that. And like I said, from the beginning, it really had nothing to do with money, algorithm, monetizing my videos, and it still really don't. I mean, that part of it's kind of nice. I just like doing what I do. I like doing it live. I like doing it, recording it. Somebody will send me a message and ask if somebody will ask me a question about it, if I can show them how to do the whip finish, and I'll kind of direct them to my whip finish video, which was kind of lengthy, but I think it helped. Yeah, definitely the bigger heads I do in the jar. I do in the flit bed, and I need to get another one set up that's got clear and glitter in it, and that way I could just dip into that and put another whole coating over top of it and go on. Oh, that ain't even half. She had, I don't know how many minnows she had in there. She probably had, there she goes, she's on the hunt. She probably had close to 5 or 6 dozen minnows in there a couple weeks ago. Last week. I think it was last week we put all those minnows in there, and she She works them over. She gives them the what for every day, and for some reason she's been on it hard today. And I know she's not starving to death because you can come out here every day and there's probably 10 less. But she'll get them herded in the corners. Yeah. The live feed, I'm trying to keep my live feeds to where they're all down to an hour, 45 minutes to an hour, depending on, the crowd I get. If I got people asking questions, I'll keep up the live feed for as long as everybody else is going. Except for tonight, I'm getting ready to hang it up. We've been going at 55 minutes, I think. But be ready. We're going to do it live from the Plateau Fly Shop. Hopefully, I don't know about this coming weekend. I'm pretty sure I'm probably going to have to work. I don't know about Sunday. But coming up, me and Oster will work something out. But guys, that is all I've got tonight. Thank you for watching. Like, share, subscribe. Let me know what you want to see. And I will see you next time, YouTube. Thanks, fellas.